Okay, this is Composition Collaboration Summit 3. This is the Rationale. I'm going to briefly outline the compositions that we're going to be doing. This is the first one is a spy comedy piece, and specifically it's going to be a skydiving scene from the film Get Smart, which is quite an old film, which is why we're going to sort of update the music and make it sound a bit better. And our second one is like a sci-fi battle scene. Which is Lord of the Rings, the Battle for Helm's Deep, and it's a long piece that we're going to do because the first piece is a little bit shorter than what we've intended to do, but because the second piece is quite a bit longer, so it will help bring the time back up and keep it quite intense. There are some similar pieces that we found to our two ideas. There's a wheelchair scene from Johnny English Reborn, which again is a comedy film, which is quite funny, I will say. There's also Austin Powers. I can't remember the specific one, but it's the one with Dr. Evil and Mini-Me. The specific scene that we've got is the fight between Austin Powers and Mini-Me, because there's sort of little bits that we're going to take out of the main music from there. Moving on to our sci-fi one, we've got Warcraft, which is the end battle scene, and Wrath of the Titans, which is the Kronos battle scene. What? No? Sorry, my cameraman was waving around. But yeah, there are quite a few shared aspects. In Johnny English Reborn, there's backing drums. There are like the drums, they're not the prominent part of the music, but they're still there, like helping the music flow. And there's also quite a lot of long fills have been used, which is an idea I would like to implement into like build up tension if things are all going wrong or they seem to be going wrong. There's a repeating bass line, which again is underneath the rest of the music. And the instruments are added as the music progresses. So where it might just start off with guitar, bass and drums, there may be like second guitars, like acoustic guitars added in, stuff like that. It's like a 4/4 tempo and it's quite quick, so it's always keeping you on the edge of your seat. From Austin Powers, both of these are for the spy comedy, just at the end. Like I said earlier, we're going to take like little bits from here and there. There's a little lead guitar melody, which isn't very prominent in the music, but I do like it quite a lot, and I think it will make the music. It will make it sound like a spy film, but it's sort of spoofy and still quite funny. The guitar, it will be quite twangy, so it won't be a big heavy distorted guitar. It will be quite twangy, and again the tempo is quite quick in 4/4. Moving on to the sci-fi scene from Warcraft, there are these like huge, heavy timpanis, and cameraman Juan, who's also my collaborator with the process, he had the idea of having many rows of timpanis and put them slightly out of time to make them like seem huge and heavy, to try and replicate the sound that was used in the film Warcraft. There are underlying violins. And long, simple brass notes as well have been used. There's quite a lot of repetition, surprisingly, but the idea sort of develops. So where it may be like in time with the music, like a violin line, later on it might slow down and go into a slower tempo without the main melody in it, although be in the same melodic shape. It's a 6/8 sort of swing feel, which we might use, but I will evidence another time signature in our other example a little bit later. It's like a flowing melody. Our other one is Wrath of the Titans. There's quite a lot of choir used in Wrath of the Titans, although the music isn't very prominent during the last battle scene. It definitely builds up and intensifies as the scene progresses, which is what we're going to hopefully use within our music. And yes, the tempo and like the time signature I was talking about was a 4/4, but it's not quick. It's quite stamping. So I think it would be quite possible to use both of these time signatures, or maybe use ideas from those and put them within our own thing, maybe even in 7/8, something like that. And I think these examples that I've mentioned, I think they're very effective. I do, because as I was saying, in Warcraft you've got the big timpanis, which obviously in war you have drums going along, and I think they're very effective for a war scene. I think twangy guitar for a spy comedy. I think specifically being a spy comedy, because with a spy film it could be violins and piano, but because it's like a spoofy thing, you want a twangy guitar because it can come across as being a little bit silly as well, which I think is quite good. Yeah, and now I'm going to move on to my personal aims. Which my first one, which I think I've mentioned in the first two assignments for composition collaboration, is not to overcomplicate the music, because whenever I have an idea, I'll tend to make it so complex that ideas can't be put on top of that. Yeah, my collaborator, he's nodding along to that. Yeah, my second point, use ideas from the reference scenes. Like, this is again going back to not overcomplicating it. Create a simple idea so that both me and Juan, mainly Juan this will be, to like stay relevant to the reference tracks, and to be able to just build and build until the final ending point. And don't underestimate the use of space. This is a thing that I do struggle with quite a lot, is that I try to cram so much into a little space, and especially in the war scene, because I know, because we're doing Lord of the Rings, the Battle of Helm's Deep, I know there's a bit where the wall blows up, and I'm thinking of leaving, maybe just having like little violin lines or some really deep bass, and just leave a whole load of space. And also, whenever there's some talking in the film, I'm gonna try to make sure that we can have that inserted like either side or within the actual music. And my main role will be the main idea guy. And what I mean by this is, as I've mentioned earlier, is to create an idea so that ideas can then be built on top of those. So if it's early on in, say it's even the first rhythm, just have that and keep it quite simple. Like going back to the spy scene, just having a simple melody, and then later on, maybe as the scene progresses, like if the bad guy comes flying in or something like that, like a different melody can then be put on top of that maybe. And I think this will be very successful. I think because the simple ideas that I can create can be expanded into good pieces of music, which will like make it very entertaining and overall just sound very good.